And when I heard the circumstantial evidence around this guy, I said to our attorneys, said, this is the guy.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't hear. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear the thoughts build up until I can't hear. That my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Schlocket Science, the most inauthentic voice in true crime. Okay, I'm a little confused. Less than 6 months ago, Court TV was providing breaking news developments about Gary Oliva. What you just heard in the beginning was John Ramsey talking on Court TV about Gary Oliva. And apparently his handwriting was a perfect match for the ransom note. Do you remember that? Do you remember when Court TV covered this and literally millions watched? Perhaps you were one of them. And then as recently as mid-July last year, John Ramsey went onto Court TV, and besides saying, this is the guy, he said this.
This person should have been at the top of the radar for the police. Unfortunately, we were at the top of the radar, and they ignored people like this in the beginning. Oliva was referred to us by the Boulder District Attorney for follow-up by our detectives because I think he felt the police would not follow it up properly.
Really? Is that why the Boulder District Attorney gave them this clue? Because you've got to remember what happened and when. This whole thing happened in 2002, that Gary Oliva kind of came onto the Boulder Police's radar, and they did take an interest. But think about what we're talking about here. 2002 was 3 years after the grand jury. 3 years after the grand jury had said what they felt about the Ramseys. And the district attorney knew about this. And what's the district attorney doing? He's handing over likely suspects to the Ramseys. Why not to the Boulder Police? And why is the Boulder District Attorney doing this when he knows what the outcome was of the grand jury? You might say because he didn't feel like he could trust Boulder Police, but you could also say to increase trust in the whole idea that there wasn't sufficient evidence and that there wasn't a case against the Ramseys. Now, jumping back to the present or the near present, in terms of Court TV's coverage in mid-July last year, you literally had a picture of John Ramsey on the one side, it was a split screen, and a picture of Oliva on the other side, and John is saying that they knew about Oliva early on, and he was right at the top of their list, meaning Team Ramsey's list of possible suspects. But there's only so much a private citizen could do. John also added, circumstantially, he's very, very compelling as a suspect, no question.
We knew about him early on, and he was certainly right up at the top of the list of possible suspects for us. But there's only so much a private citizen could do in this kind of investigation. But he's very, very compelling as a suspect, no question.
And that was in a Court TV video with the title, Who Killed JonBenet Ramsey? And I guess what they're trying to say is Gary Oliva. And John seems to be suggesting, no question, this guy is a very good candidate for that. Now, I'm not sure if it was my daughter, I'm not sure if I would be speaking as matter-of-factly about potentially the murderer of my child, without anger, without emotion, without grief. And the question is also, well, now that your potential murderer of your child has been released, don't you have anything to say about that? Doesn't anyone else have anything to say about that? And what do the authorities have to say about that? I mean, if it's this big thing that this person may have killed JonBenet Ramsey, why are you letting him go? You have him. You've just got these handwriting matches. Why are you letting him go? Before we get to the rest of this analysis, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. Bear in mind I'll be covering Van Gogh Letters episode 72 on the Team Peachtree channel later this evening. I think it's 8 p.m. Eastern. So look out for that. We're going to be looking at his journey, Van Gogh's journey from disaster, catastrophe, tragedy, losing his ear, to painting the triumphant Starry Night. Should be worth watching. I'll also be doing a follow-up in-depth analysis of the Jennifer Dulos case, probably coming out tomorrow. Look out for that. And then in terms of this analysis, if you're enjoying this analysis, please like, share, leave a comment. You can also hit the thanks button, and let's get started. Okay, so Gary Oliva has just been released from prison. Why is no one asking questions about that? Why is no one talking about that now? Maybe it's because John's right. There's absolutely no question, because even Gary Oliva at one point said, and this is a verbatim quote, "I hurt little Jomba." Okay, hold on. That's not what he said. Did he say, "I hurt JonBenet"? Did he say JonBenet's name? Okay. This is what he said. "I hurt a little girl." That means he hurt JonBenet, right? Okay, well, let's be clear about this. What did Gary say when he was asked directly in front of a police officer?
Did you hurt or kill JonBenet Ramsey?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. If someone says, "I hurt a little girl," that's a confession. And yet when that same someone says, when they asked, "No, I didn't kill JonBenet," then that's not true. So is the truth, when you hear something that you want to believe is true, that's true, and when you hear something that you don't want to believe is true, then it's not true? So it's got nothing to do with evidence. So I want you to think about that. In 1997, 1998, basically right at the beginning of the Ramsey case, John and his team, and maybe you can say 1999, 2000, but basically the beginning, the first 5 years, let's say, John and his team think Gary Oliva is prime suspect material for having killed JonBenet. Now jump ahead another 20 years, 23 years, and John still seems to feel the same way.
When I heard the circumstantial evidence around this guy, I said to our attorneys that this is the guy.
And the crazy thing is, in 2023, more than 20 years later, the internet seems to have woken up and they seem to agree with John. The internet seems to think, yes, this is the guy. Court TV gives a lot of attention to Gary's handwriting, and they hosted another dude who kind of also builds the case that Gary is the guy. So, is Gary the guy? Yes or no, is Gary the guy? What I don't understand is, if Court TV thinks Gary is the guy, and I don't know, do they? And if John does, I don't know, does he? And if millions of you out there think Gary's the guy, then why have the authorities actually let him go? Not just let him go, but let him go early. He was supposed to be released in 2025, but it seems what was going on in the news convinced the authorities to release him even earlier. Now, what's also interesting in the Madeleine McCann case is that there's been a massive breakthrough, quote-unquote massive breakthrough, in the last few days. A key witness called Helga Bushing has flip-flopped again and has decided to testify against his former friend, Christian Bruckner. You've also got a former friend in this case who's saying things about Gary Oliva. And after saying a few months ago that he wasn't going to testify, Helga is now going to testify. And now Bruckner is the prime suspect in the Madeleine McCann case because, like Oliva, he apparently said something similar. In September 2023, when Bushing wanted to withdraw from testifying, the Daily Mail quoted sources referring to Bushing as flaky and that his nickname was Helga Bullshitter. But now that Helga is back in the hot seat, now he's a key witness again, probably very reliable. Is Bruckner charged in the disappearance of Madeleine McCann? No. Is Gary Oliva charged in anything to do with JonBenet Ramsey? No. But that doesn't stop fake news and fake crime from cashing in on the fake idea that he might have. An idea that investigators dismissed years ago, but who cares what they say? Instead, this idea is being held like a carrot to unsuspecting followers of these cases. I'm sorry, the Ramsey and McCann cases are a little more subtle than these clowns who supposedly confessed to committing the crime, just like Jean-Marc Carr did from Thailand. I killed JonBenet Ramsey, and then actually it turned out that he didn't. And the media circus that then replays these spiels ad nauseum, and it seems as though the media suffers from either selective amnesia or total amnesia. It's interesting to me that the Ramseys and McCanns have described precisely what sort of suspect they have in mind in their respective cases. And remember, they were both suspects at a certain point in these cases themselves. They then describe precisely what sort of suspect they have in mind. And in the McCann case, you get another good description in the Netflix series. And then guess what happens? In short shrift, one is provided. It's as easy as that. It's as easy as that. We are looking for a suspect that looks like this, and then there he is. There's just one little problem.
Well, that's a very entertaining story, but unfortunately real detectives have to worry about that little thing called evidence.
So I want to ask you guys a question right now. First of all, question number one. Was that a very entertaining story, the one about Gary Oliva, the one about Christian Bruckner? Would you say you've been entertained by it? And then on the second point, have you been concerned at all with this little thing called evidence? Have you been aware of this little thing called evidence? Is there any evidence of this person that is part of this very entertaining story being in the crime scene? So it's a yes or no question. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.
No charges have been filed. There is insufficient evidence to bring charges at this time. Boulder grand jury has completed its work. No charges have been filed.
What we were indicted for, which was nonsense, was child resulting in death. And we were told, well, you didn't protect your child. And that's true. I mean, I regret that I didn't set the burglar alarm or check the windows.
When one note is off, it eventually destroys the whole symphony, David.
Well, that's absolutely absurd. I mean,
I don't know that she wet her bed much. I don't even remember that.
well, she had accidents, but children do.
Oh, yeah, she's absolutely right.